Should you take out a 30-year bond or a 20-year bond when acquiring investment property? Hi, I'm Jaco Grobbelaar, the founder and managing director of Prosperity Enterprises. I so often get asked, why on earth would you take out a 30-year bond? And my response is usually the same. It's because there's no 40-year bond available. The next question that I then get is, but do you know how much interest you are paying on that bond? To which my response is also usually the same. It's not me that is paying the interest, actually my tenants are paying the interest. In property investment, cash flow is everything. So you want to make sure that your cash flow is as good as possible. So in property investment, I want to have a bond that is as long as possible in order to have as little money leaving my pocket, as little outflow as possible on a monthly basis. We all have paradigms, and often those paradigms that we have are inaccurate. One of those paradigms are whether debt is good and bad. We try and avoid debt at all costs, and we do everything in our ability when we have debt to pay that debt off as quickly as possible. Now that is not a bad thing at all, but not all debt is bad. You do actually get something like good debt, and good debt is debt where there's an underlying appreciating asset. When I am sitting with an asset that is appreciating in value, I am comfortable to have debt on that asset because I know that there's an underlying asset that covers that debt and that is also growing or appreciating in value. So, when I sit with debt in a property investment, I'm very comfortable for that debt to be there for a very long time. What I am more interested in is to make sure that my cash flow on a monthly basis is good. Thus, I want to maximize income, I want to maximize the rental income that I can earn from that property, and I want to minimize my outflows and my expenses. Your biggest outflow in a property investment is your monthly bond payment, your mortgage payment that you are paying to the banks. So to reduce that monthly payment, when you get the loan, you want to make sure you get the best interest rate possible and you get the longest term possible. So my personal mantra is to buy as many properties as possible and to pay them off as slowly as possible. Everything in property is about cash flow. So you want to make sure that your outflows are as low as possible. When you have a longer bond, it means that you could reach break even on that property quicker, or you could have a bigger surplus on that property sooner. Now, I want you to think about this. When you have a property that is breaking even or that has positive cash flow, you could have a property portfolio as big as the number of properties that you can acquire. If you have a certain amount of money available every month to cover your shortfalls, the bigger those shortfalls are, the less properties you can own. So by reaching break even or positive cash flow sooner on that property, it actually means that you can significantly increase the size of your property portfolio and thus also increase your asset base and your wealth. When your properties are breaking even or having positive cash flow, you also have significantly lower risk because now you don't have to take money out of your pocket every single month to subsidize a property. This property is actually paying for itself, and that is exactly what you want. Then we are getting to refinancing. What is refinancing? Refinancing is when you bought a property for a certain price and that property has appreciated in value, or maybe you bought that property below market value at a discount, and now somewhere in the future you go to the financing institution and you say, bank or financing institution, I would like to borrow additional money on this property. And you would apply for that loan. The banks would look at your affordability or your credibility and see if they are comfortable to lend you more money on that property. And if they do see value in that property, they would then advance more funds to you. They would make more funds available for you. Now that is great because you can take those funds and pay it into your access bond or your flexi bond, which means that you are not going to pay interest on that money while you are not using it, but you have just made a lot of money accessible. You can now use those funds to subsidize shortfalls. You can use those funds to expand your property portfolio further. You can even use those funds to just leave it there as a reserve in case of emergency. Or if you've made loans to your entity, you can actually use those funds to pay you back or distribute profits to you to enjoy. But if your bond is only a 20-year bond or a shorter bond, you can do refinancing for a shorter period of time. And remember, if you're already 10 or 15 years into the bond, that means that there's only 5 or 10 years left. So refinancing becomes very expensive and your monthly payment increase becomes very expensive. Whereas if you have a 30-year bond, you have significantly more time to refinance and to use those refinance funds to expand your property portfolio whilst your monthly bond payment is not increasing that significant. So should you take a 30-year bond or a 20-year bond? I would take a 30-year bond every single time. For me, it is not about how quickly I'm paying off my debt. For me, it is about how many properties I'm acquiring and how can I keep my risk as low as possible by not having unnecessary shortfalls on my property portfolio. So as somebody that's buying a home, it makes sense. Take a short bond, pay that property off as quickly as possible and live there. But as a property investor, your paradigms, your outlook shifts completely because now it's not about paying off the debt. It's about having good cash flow, not having shortfalls on the property, and being able to build a significantly bigger property portfolio. If you like this content and you would like to see more of it, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.